Welcome to This Explainer. She was the girl who became a Hollywood star before she was even old enough to truly understand what fame meant. On screen, her life looked like a sequence of massive triumphs, but as we're going to see today, those public victories stood in stark contrast to her deeply private, tragic battles off-screen. So what really happened to Hayden Panettiere? It's the question everyone is asking right now. At just 36 years old, this incredibly beloved actress is gone. Her sudden passing has left fans all around the world in total shock, wondering how someone who achieved so much so early in life could meet such a sudden and tragic end. What actually happened during those years leading up to her death? You know, to really understand her story, we've got to look at that massive divide between her public persona and her private reality. The world saw her as these unforgettable characters in massive hit shows. She was the indestructible Claire Bennet in Heroes, and the wildly talented country star Juliette Barnes in Nashville. But behind the cameras, away from the spotlight, she was fighting some really complex battles with addiction, mental health, and personal heartbreak that the public is only just beginning to fully grasp. Section 1. The Making of a Star. Born in New York in August 1989, Hayden's career began incredibly early. We're talking literal baby commercials. From there, she moved seamlessly into TV soap operas like One Life to Live and Guiding Light. By the time she was a teenager, she'd already built up years of experience, acting in major films like Remember the Titans and Raising Helen. Her climb to the top was steady, deliberate, and wildly successful. And then came 2006. That steady climb turned into pure television history. She landed the role that changed absolutely everything. Save the cheerleader, save the world. If you were around back then, you know this iconic phrase from Heroes. It permanently connected a 17-year-old Hayden to pop culture history. Playing a high school cheerleader with the extraordinary ability to regenerate after injuries, she catapulted to global superstardom practically overnight. Section 2. Motherhood and Hidden Battles. But as her star kept rising, her personal life got pretty complicated. A huge turning point was the intense spotlight placed on her starting around 2009, when she began dating Ukrainian heavyweight boxing champion Wladimir Klitschko. This relationship attracted massive media attention. I mean, it was a fascinating contrast of two completely different worlds, right? A Hollywood actress on one side and a world champion boxer on the other. Despite separating briefly in 2011, they reconciled and ended up getting engaged in 2013. Which brings us to 2014. In December of that year, they welcomed their daughter, Kaya Klitschko. This was a beautifully joyous milestone that fundamentally changed Hayden's life. But, as she would later reveal to the world, it also marked the beginning of severe, hidden battles that would follow her for years. Following Kaya's birth, Hayden suffered from severe postpartum depression. Over time, she bravely started speaking out about this, along with her struggles with alcohol and substance use. In her 2026 memoir titled This Is Me, A Reckoning, she detailed these incredibly dark periods, explaining how she turned to alcohol and other substances just to numb her emotional pain. It was a vicious cycle of trying to cope while living under a global microscope. This struggle eventually impacted her ability to parent the way she desperately wanted to. Prioritizing her daughter's well-being above literally everything else, Hayden made an incredibly difficult, selfless decision. In 2018, she relinquished full custody of Kaya to Wladimir so she could truly focus on her recovery. As she noted, Kaya needed stability, but it's so important to mention that Hayden remained a fiercely loving mother. She maintained contact with her daughter and recently spoke really positively about her strong co-parenting bond with Wladimir. Section 3. Heartbreak and Dark Chapters. While she fought fiercely for her health, the next few years brought a painful list of compounding challenges. After her relationship with Wladimir ended, she began dating Brian Hickerson, but this relationship became deeply troubled and abusive. Hickerson was arrested following allegations of domestic violence, eventually pleading no contest to felony charges related to injuring Hayden, and was actually sentenced to jail time. It was one of the darkest chapters of her life. And then, just as she was trying to heal, she suffered a devastating loss in 2023 when her younger brother Jansen, who was also an actor and artist, died tragically at the age of just 28. Section 4. A Tragic Final Chapter. Yet through all of this, Hayden was trying to rebuild. She came back to the public eye, did interviews, and honestly discussed her past, which makes her final chapter just profoundly devastating. It's incredibly important right now to objectively separate the actual, verified facts from the rampant speculation swirling online. Here is what we actually know. On August 16, 2026, emergency personnel were called to a residence in Greenville, South Carolina. Hayden was unresponsive and reportedly in cardiac arrest. She couldn't be saved and was pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities reported absolutely no obvious signs of trauma. Now, on the other side of the coin, there's a ton of unconfirmed speculation. Overdose rumors, specific drug involvement, even suicide claims. As an explainer focused strictly on the facts, we've got to emphasize that the coroner's official cause of death is still pending. Those claims remain completely unconfirmed. But rather than just focusing on the tragedy and mystery of her final day, we really need to zoom out and look at the entirety of who she was. Hayden Panettiere was not just a headline. She was a two-time Golden Globe nominee, a brilliant singer, a loving mother, and a sister. Most importantly, she was a pioneer. She publicly discussed postpartum depression, addiction, and recovery at a time when many celebrities were absolutely terrified to utter those words out loud.
Hayden Panettiere leaves behind a beautifully complex legacy. A little girl who became an international star, a deeply human soul who fought her hardest battles in both public and private, and an actress whose unforgettable performances will live on forever. But her passing at just 36 leaves us with a really heavy, provocative question to ponder. What is the true price of growing up in the spotlight? And how can we, as a society, better support those whose brightest lights often hide their darkest shadows? Thank you for joining me for this explainer.